Hey guys, the average man, and today we are going to be talking about a case for the dual PVS 14s. So, today I'm going to be asking you, why do people want to use night vision devices? What are some of the benefits of using dual PVS 14s versus something like a Jerry 31 or a PVS 31A? And kind of explain why I made the decision I did to actually go for a dual PVS 14 set. So, let's get into it. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, why do we want binocular night vision? Because this really isn't going to be a case of talking about monoculars versus binoculars, and it's going to be more, why would you get two PVS 14s when you could get something like a set of binoculars made to be used together? Well, the first reason why is it's easy to get into, right? So whenever you start night vision, most of us are going to start with a PVS 14. You know, some of you out there might use a PVS 7, but a lot of us started with PVS 14s. And when you get into it, you find the specs that you want and the things that you like. Green phos versus white phos. What sort of SNR do I need? What sort of specs do I need out of my night vision device? So, the first thing I like about having dual PVS 14s is it's a great stepping stone from having your first device, making it capable to be duals. And I think a lot of people immediately see binoculars, and I agree, they look sleeker, they look better, they usually weigh a lot less, and it is nice to have just a single set of controls. But there's some really cool things that PVS 14s can do that something like a PVS 31A can't. The first thing is you can go out, buy two PVS 14s. I have about $2,000 in each one of my PVS 14s, and they're both white phos, Gen 3, roughly 30 SNR, I would say about 18 to 1900 FOM tubes. Um, and I've only got 4 grand in the tubes themselves, maybe a little bit more. We'll call it 4,500. And I went out and bought a pano bridge. Now, there's a lot of different options out in the market to have a panable night vision set for your PVS 14s. And I have experience running my PVS 14s where they aren't panned and they are, as well as having a set of Jerry 31s as you see on the screen right now. And I can tell you, panning makes a big difference. Having the ability to see way more is so underrated, and your brain can just match the images together. Like, it doesn't feel unnatural to me or weird in any way. And it's nice to have that ability to pan for under $5,000. I can't find anything close to that to have Gen 3, and you could be way less expensive with it. If you're being budget friendly, go out. I mean, if you really want to do like an NVT tube, you can get those for really cheap. But honestly, if you're in the US, I would just go out, buy an Omni tube used. If you wait and look around, you can find a green phos tube for 1,500, 1,600 bucks all day. If you're just patient and have your money set aside and you wait to see the specs that you want. And I think the green phos and white phos isn't as big of a difference as when I first started. And if I could go back and change it, I think I would go back to green phos. But since I started out with a white phos tube, I just matched it with another white phos tube. So one of the coolest things to me is have that ability to pan. A second ability a lot of people don't realize is when you go to a dual setup. A lot of people are going to sell their monocular and go to like a PVS 31 style device. Well, one thing that's really cool about my 14s is I can take them apart, and if I want to go on a hike with one of my friends, or if I just want to go out, and recently I went to the beach under the stars, and I could just hand my other device to family or other people at the beach if they wanted to look at the stars, which is super neat to me. To have the capability not only just for fun, but in a tactical aspect, if you are concerned that you're going to need night vision, having two people with a binocular is way better than having one person with a binocular and one person that can't see anything. So it absolutely is a force multiplier, and having the ability to split it is so valuable and so underrated. Now, here's a couple other things to consider when you have dual 14s. So, one big positive that I liked is I have a backup where even if one tube fails, even if there's some weird issue with one of my tubes, I know they're completely independent of one another, and it's a fail-safe of my other tube will for sure work. Versus if you have some sort of electrical problem with your tubes on a binocular set, more than likely you're going to be out on both of your tubes, and now you're hurting. Um, as I said before, price structuring is really nice because instead of having to spend $5,000 to $10,000 all at once, you're going to spend $1,500 plus a G24 mount and a helmet to start off. And then you're going to keep that G24 mount and that helmet, and now you're adding maybe another $1,500 unit and maybe a $350 bridge. $3,500 to have Gen 3 panning night vision is such an insane value proposition. And not only that, if you save the money that you do by going with 214s, you give yourself the flexibility to not only have panable night vision, but you can have a dual band setup. And if you're not familiar with a dual band setup, it's where you can run a thermal in one eye and you can run a monocular night vision device in the other eye. And they complement each other very well. Now, some people cannot do it and they just have fatigue. I think it is one of the best setups because it gives you so much more capability. And since you're saving so much money with going with dual 14s, it gives you the option to have a dual band setup. Now, with a binocular set, there isn't really a way to go to a single monocular dual band setup. The best you could do is fusion, and I don't think fusion's going to give you the same capability as something like a dedicated thermal in your other eye. So let's talk about some of the weaknesses of PVS 14s, and let's address the elephant in the room. It's heavy. Okay, my friend who has Jerry 31s, his full helmet setup, granted he doesn't have Ear Pro or a Kevlar helmet, is about 5 pounds less than mine. My helmet with a Kevlar helmet, my Comtacs mounted on arc rails, and it's a dual lead set of Comtac 3s with my night vision and counterweight is about 8.5 pounds. That's a lot of weight on your neck. There are ways that you could lower that, but you're going to have to realize you need to do some like neck workouts or wear your helmet often and not injure yourself, but work your neck muscles up to where it's going to be able to handle the helmet. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it is very difficult to just wear the helmet and have it constantly on for 8 hours straight. The other reason that people might want to go to binoculars is, like I said earlier, even though it's a bit of a detriment because you don't have a fail safe of like if one tube starts failing or if there's an electrical issue, the odds of that happening are relatively low nowadays. And having one set of gain controls, having one set of buttons you have to press is so nice whenever you don't want to have to fiddle with things. I personally find that I just set my gain to the max, I turn both my tubes on, and I really don't think about it. Some people may feel otherwise, especially in more urban areas or, depending on the environment. Personally, I haven't ran into a situation where that's been as big of an issue for me. I truly believe that for panning night vision at $3,500 versus the closest thing you could do is maybe buy a used set of, I believe they're called, let me R the RP NVGs. The RP NVGs are probably going to run you 7 to 8 grand used. And for me, I could have 4 tubes at that price, or I could have a thermal, 2 PVS 14s that can pan, and maybe an IR lamp or something like that that gives me way more capability than just having a set of binos that are a little bit lighter that pan. I personally love the PVS 14. I think they are some of the most sturdy and reliable pieces of night vision that are out there right now. You just turn them on and they work. There's not much to them. They're easy to work on. Parts are easy to find. And I just really like my Dual 14s. I don't see why more people aren't on this train other than just the weight factor, and I understand that can be a big turnoff. But if you're willing to use your nods constantly and use them, enough to where you're training your neck to be able to deal with that weight, it's a no-brainer to me, and I really don't understand why more people don't talk about it. And that's all for now. If you guys appreciate the video, feel free to like or subscribe. If you guys feel differently, or if you guys have a reason why you do or don't like that type of setup, feel free to leave comments. I'm always happy to hear what other people's views are. I have got a limited amount of time behind night vision. I am by no way, shape, or form ex-military or have any experience in a tactical environment. It is strictly just your average LARPer enjoying being outdoors with their friends and enjoying being able to see the stars and see things at night that you shouldn't be able to. But until next time, I'll see y'all.